Already started?
Okay, we are live now.
Right now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live session of Disruptive Education. I'm Anisha Nadkar, Ambassador of Change from Pune. Our today's guest is Mr. Sahil Sayed. Currently, he is working as academic head in Delhi World Public School, Nerul. He has been in the educational management industry for about a decade now. His core areas of expertise lies in STEM, that is, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. His school has been ranked 7th by Education World under the category of excellence in STEM education across India. Congratulations, sir. He is also on academic panel of EVA World School. His latest initiative called Sigma Kids connects preschoolers and their teachers locally to facilitate learning from their homes. Today's topic is, are we just teaching or really helping children to learn? Welcome, sir, on the Global Education Learning Training platform. Welcome you. Over to you.
All right. So thanks for the elaborate introduction, and very grateful to the Geti platform. I think in 2013 or 14, I met Dr. Sunita Gandhi, and it was fascinating the kind of work that's happening in City Montessori and Lucknow, and now I think pan India and I think global. So that's fantastic. Um, Right. I think as I was discussing with, I think Anisha ma'am, that what kind of topic or what we would bring up for today's discussion. It was few thoughts, but then, there are so many sessions, so many interesting webinars happening in today's time. And probably we said something that at least the question we leave the audience with, even if people unfortunately are unable to connect or, attend, at least they somewhere down the line they can at least reflect on the question that the topic has, which is, are we just teaching, or we really want the children to learn, or we are helping them to learn? So it itself gives a lot of ideas. So what we have done is, I think the current scenario or situation, it is all about seas that we see. So it is started with China, Corona, and cyclone. Yesterday we passed that through from Mumbai. So we said, okay, C's are not bad, so let's see that. And we came up with three C's, and today we'll be discussing that as we walk through. So starting from the journey of the online education and online teaching, we call it as online 1.0, which was our first version when it just suddenly appeared in front of us. And the teachers, they themselves worked hard to pass that particular period. And now we are somewhere in version 2.0 of education, or we can say online education. So 1.0 was more of an emergency remote learning, and not essentially the online prepared curriculum that we were delivering. But as you know, I think belonging from Maharashtra and Mumbai, and I think more of the parts of the world, in India especially, we have the new session which is coming in the month of June, or some people we start maybe towards the end of May. So the fresh academic year, the fresh journey of the online, we call it as online 2.0, and that is something we look forward for as we go ahead. So today, what we'll be doing is, as I said, we'll talk about the three C's, and the first C is about connection. To build, connect, or to have connection between the student and teacher, or the community of learners, with the parents also associated or part of that learning culture. So the first thing, and I think I prefer to share my screen and show. We'll just walk through some of the things which is interesting to see. So here I'm just sharing my screen, and then we'll be through it. All right. So great. I think yeah, here we go. So connection is what we are talking about. I think education is all about building connection. connections, and something we as we have technology which has embedded, I think, in all the parts of the domain. So whether it be medical domain or be education, technology has just collaborated with all the domains. And today's world that we have is ed tech, where we are connecting. But also we'll talk about the connection. So it is not just about our Zoom connections or our connection which is online platforms. But yes, when we talk about connection, it is about human connection that I want to bring in. And some exercise we did with the students to connect with them on a better level. And so I think the audience there who are watching from Facebook Live and from different parts of the country, for everybody, you can tell me what thing comes to your mind when I say the number 7. So we are talking about connections, building those connections, and I want you to connect or make connections with number 7, right? So what all things comes to your mind? And I think I can get Anisha ma'am also being part of that discussion. So ma'am, what comes to your mind when I say number 7? Anything that you can
MS
relate with?
Dhoni.
MS Dhoni. Okay, I think you saw the picture, ma'am, on the screen.
No, no, I
All
know.
right, so
I'm a
I
big
think we
fan
can.
of his.
All right, oh, that's fantastic. I think that is what the real educationist that we have on the panel already. So we see that the colors of the rainbow, you have the I think if you have a pre-primary teacher, you will probably remember the days of the week or the charts that we had. We have the the 7 wonders of the world as a connection. So many connections. But yeah, somebody like Anisha ma'am, who knows her students well, or their psychology, or very empathetic towards them, then yes, this is what they would connect themselves with, or with number 7. CR7, we know Cristiano Ronaldo, we know MS Dhoni. So these are the legends, and they want to connect this thing. So it is all about connections that we can bring into our classrooms. And if you are somewhere in science field, or you are part of chemistry, then probably you will talk about pH and the scale and the numbers there, and the neutrality of water. So that is how you would make those connections. And the underlying principle why we are discussing this in the part of children learning, because that's very essential. The core principle that we have is called as the schema theory. So we're not going to discuss the theory in detail here. We'll keep it short and concrete and sweet. So the sigma theory, it is all about so many information, so much knowledge and content that we have in today's time. uh, Somewhere as teachers, as facilitators, when we share pages of information, I think our students have a lot of information with them. What we need to bring in is connection. How relevant we can make those content, what kind of connection, or the connections in the brain that we want them to fire, or basically the questions that they should be asking the right questions. So that's the whole idea of schema theory, which only talks about connections. So a lot of information, I think somewhere down the line we studied Hindi, we studied about different languages in our school, but if we are not connecting, we're not using them, that becomes like a dormant part of our memory, which is not being utilized or used. Similarly with students, the more connections we meet, the more encephalons that we can generate, or the gyrus of the brain that we can have, and that's the encephalus. The encephalus, the whole idea of that. So sigma schema theory is what the connections are all about. So today we want to share that with teachers. We can do those exercises with students to really help them build a connection. Even the parents who are listening to us in the live platform, for everybody there. So it is very simple. When you are having dinner in your families, you can ask that, okay, what comes to your mind when we say color red, for example, when we talk about school? So what are the keywords that we can associate or relate with, right? So that kind of, just curiosity, this is a small exercise, it's very interesting and exciting, and help the children connect with you, and you as a teacher will get the insights, the way the students think, right? So we can get better network and better connection. So it is not about the Wi-Fi connection, or the Zoom connections. It is also about brain to brain, our human connection that we have with the students. So that's one, the first thing that we talked about is to connect, to establish that connection. The second C that we will talk about is culture. You know, it's amazing that it's amazing, the country that we belong to is part of the culture, or very rich culture that we already have. In fact, the schools that we are part of has some kind of an inbuilt connection. Maybe the culture is part of your house system. It is the part of your curriculum. It is part of your behavior. It's part of your discipline. So that, it brings up an entire culture. So a school is just not an infrastructure, a building, a set of teachers. It is all about the culture that we bring into the school. So while we are on our journey to online 2.0, the second version of our online sessions, or the virtual training that we call it, right? Don't forget the culture part of it, right? So as teachers, as educators, when we have our rhymes, when we have our school anthems, the school songs, bring that culture, bring that part in your online sessions or virtual learning. That's going to be excellent. And some of the schools have already started doing that. They have got PE periods, they have got arts periods, they have got their music classes. So that brings the entire culture. Because for any tutor, for anybody to just take 1 hour session and teach a topic in physics or in science would be a very easy thing. Because but as a teacher, as a school teacher, probably that how important it is to connect with the students, and also the students has builds a culture around you, right? So that is the second C, which we talk about, the culture, which is the atmosphere that you have created. It can be the classroom discipline we talk about. It can be the way we engage with each other. It can be your house system. It can be different things that you already did in your school. That philosophy has to come in our virtual learning also, right? So don't forget to connect with your students culturally. So that is the second C for us, and that's what something we said. You can establish a class motto. As a class, this is what we stand for. This is how we look at the society, our role in our houses, to spread the positivity and smiles around. So those kind of mottos, if a teacher sits in the classroom, which is virtual, I think those will help us to better connect with the students. And yes, certainly we have been more planned in our second version of online lectures. But with planning, I know most of us, like me, we are very much tuned with the presentations that we have. So presentation, yes, it's a good idea. Video sometime, learning resources. You have got so many new technology which we can onboard with us. But remember to have one thing, have dynamic thing, have dynamic teaching in your virtual classes. So do mix and match, do change things, because that is what the students will be excited about every time they come to the class, to your session, and they see something new the teacher has come up with. Something amazing has come, a new platform, a new technology that we are learning. And I think if teachers, we are educators, if we are amazed by technology, by different applications. And I think students, they love that. They love surprises. So let's give them surprises in our dynamic way. And that is the again part of our culture. Conversations, that is again a very essential thing, another C, to start with. So conversations, somewhere we say, okay, we have 45 minutes time slot, we have this period. After that, we have got to go to another classrooms. Somewhere we really don't want to miss the student and teacher connect, right? So conversations have to take place. Even if you are as a parent watching this, converse with your children at least some time of your day, wherein you are talking, where you are looking at the eye to eye to a child. Because the children are deprived to meet their friends, to play with them on the ground, or to go outside. So let's give them the connect, let's give them the coziness inside our houses. So whenever you're talking, so don't look at your mobile phone and speak or the converse. But yes, face to face communication is something which is very important. So conversation, as in the teachers community, I think we also need to communicate. Somewhere down the line, we can allocate some part of the class, let's say 5 minutes, wherein we have one-on-one conversation with child. Or maybe 45 minutes class, or after the class anybody has to wait for asking questions or interact with you. I think a lot of the platforms have come into our help and aid, so we can use that wherein there is only the option of communicating with the host. So you can very well ask a question to your teacher personally, and we can really leverage that technology and make use of it. So don't lose that, the emotional connect with your students by having some informal communications also. Let's say, how is the weather at your place, or how are things at your end. So those kind of communication and conversations will really help us to connect, and as a school we can be a bigger family. Coming to the camp consciousness, we do have some children, some kids, especially with the primary graders, who may not be very much comfortable and conversing. So a collaboration with parents or something of those nature. Even some of the teachers I know, brilliant, excellent in communication and teaching, but may not be very familiar with the technology part of it. But I can tell you with a surety, if you are a good teacher, you don't need a good platform. If you are a good teacher, even a mediocre thing, a mediocre platform, or whatever locality your students belong to, I think you can easily connect with them, because they look at the teacher and not the platform. And that is the story I want to just connect as an analogy with a great wall of China, right? So I think we all know the seven wonders of the world, and that's the connection part again. So the Great Wall of China, it's magnanimous, it's huge, magnificent, 6,400 kilometers long wall to protect the Chinese emperors from the invaders, mostly the Mongolians. Uh, but in the reality, the historians tell us, at least at three major instances, the wall failed to protect the empire. And what could be the reason there? From large, from the helicopters view, if you see, even from the space, they say the wall looks amazing, it is magnificent, it's standing, there is no breakage, there is no loose ends in the wall, right? But there has been 2 million deaths of workers, of people who have sacrificed themselves to build the complete wall. And that is again the culture part of it. The wall is ready, but if the people are not ready, right, if the people are not motivated, not passionate, not connected culturally, and that's where the attacks would happen, that's where we would have our loose ends. And that's the reality. The history tells us that, although the emperor spent a lot of money building those infrastructure, building those walls, maybe a platform, a great platform, but if that connection is not there with the teachers, if that morals are not high, if the passion is not at the peak, it was simple for the invaders just to go near the wall and whisper to the soldiers and bribe them, and they used to open the gates. And that was the reality. When you're spending a lot on the infrastructure and not on people, that's where the wall failed its purpose. And something that as schools, as leaders of school, we, or as teachers, we really don't have to focus a lot on the infrastructure, on the technicality, on the Wi-Fi, on the internet connection. Yes, these are important part, but the important part is our passion, our interest, our connect with the students, and imparting our culture. So everyone out there, for the live session, this is a question for you. It's a brain, I mean, just a correlation. Where would you build the Great Wall of China? And I'm not expecting answers. You can surely put your comments in the in the web page, or the Facebook live page that you see, right? So have your answers ready, and that would be an exciting thing. Where can we build that wall of China? And I did this with my students, and they had some amazing time when we make connections, when we correlate things. And that is and one of the examples that I wanted to share. So we talked about connection, we talked about the culture part of it, the two C's, and the last C that I will wish to share is about creativity. We take pride in calling ourselves as the creative CBSE school, right? And I think most of our schools are creative, so we are pretty good in that aspect. But you know what? When we talk about creativity, it's kind of an absurd, it's kind of an vague image that we have. Maybe we have different perspective on those lines, but I'll tell you a very simple thing to bring creativity. So how does creativity come in? So you cannot enforce creativity, you cannot teach somebody creativity, or you cannot, have a mechanism or an algorithm to bring about creativity. But there is one simple thing to bring about that is your environment. you know the environment, and that's the something we request all our teachers and all our teaching fraternity out there. Smile, spread the positivity and create an environment where people are not threatened, people are not looking at you as a deterrent. Either you're a teacher, you're a principal, they are comfortable in sharing and talking to you and having simple conversations with people. And that's what creativity will uh, comes up when there is an environment which is viable, which brings about freedom, and expression is what as we encourage. So it is all about environment, and then those things will follow. You would get ideas, you will have information, you would have innovation, motivation, and everything comes in place if you have an environment where people can come to your school and smile. And that is something, as an educator, we try to inculcate and we try to spread all across. And that's the noble profession that we're talking about now, which is impacting societies and everybody and touching each other's life. So that's where creativity is. So a simple question and a simple idea to further take the creativity part of it. Everything that you do, for example, you're taking attendance, you have to ask one simple question: are you creative? So your attendance part, is it monotonous? Is it bored? Do you don't like it? If something which you don't like and it's a part and parcel, maybe the lesson plans or the worksheet kind of thing, anything which you really, we tell our teachers that if it is boring, ask yourself a question: how can we make it creative, right? And asking those questions, automatically brings a lot of ideas on table. So there is nothing a secret that we have for creativity. It is about asking a simple question. For example, we talk about the attendance. So my teachers would come up with an idea. They said, all right, we have red, green, and yellow. So end of the class, you have my students telling them in the chat, which is personal, only to the host, only to the teacher. They will communicate, how was the session today? Is it red? Is it yellow? Or is it a green session? And that's kind of a feedback as a teacher I receive. And also, I'm smartly having my all tab option, marking my attendance in my Excel sheet. So both the things are getting done, and our students are also feeling that they have been hearing, they have been asked for if something has to be improved and improvised. So they feel very connected. They are part of the system, and feedback is something that we really encourage. So that is what bring creativity into our learning and teaching. So it is not about just investing in the ebooks. No matter if you don't have an ebook, if you don't have a nice LMS in your school, if you don't have a fantastic atmosphere or the virtual platform, that's okay. If you're a good teacher, if you want to be creative, you can do it with limited number of resources, and that is very much possible. So we know the students of the municipal schools out here who are working with their kids in the community projects and helping people out there. So it is only about the connections that we can bring in. The culture of your school, don't compromise on the culture of your school, and have the connection, one-to-one interaction with your students. And that is how we talked about the 3 C's, starting with the connect, right? So that's the whole summary of today's talk. We're not going to exceed our time limits, and don't want to make it elaborative. So it's simple 3 C's that you remember. Don't remember the 3 C's of China, Corona, and the cyclone. Just forget those 3 C's and remember the new 3 C's that you have, which is uh, connect, which is remember the schema theory. The more connections we build, the smart or intelligent kids we are going to make them. So your IQ is going to get you, the connection is going to bring you the IQ, and also the emotional question that we can bring in through our culture. So remember the Great Wall of China. Don't invest so much that we are left with nothing. So it is all about people, about managing them and building a good environment and the good culture in the school, or with the parents, with their students, and that is going to help us in the long run. And yes, finally, creativity needs an environment to nourish, to grow, right? So there is no hard and fast rule for creativity. I think we all have capability in terms of creativity. Only when we say that it's a job or it's a thing that we have to do at the end of the day, or achieve a target. That's where we are just bottling ourselves, we are putting the lids on. Otherwise, just simple questions: if I am making my attendance sheet, am I creative? Am I delivering the lessons in a creative way? Is my worksheet creative? So if you question yourselves, I think you yourself have the most of the answers. And I think with platforms like Giti, we can collaborate, we can have more ideas on board. If you do something which is excellent, I think please do share in the comment section. If you have any questions, I think we can take few of them with Anisha ma'am's permission. So those things, I think that's where I would like to summarize my talk and the topic that we intended to question or to ask or to have answers to it. Are we just teaching or helping children learn? In the time we cannot regulate everything. They were coming to school, we were to an extent controlling and regulating them, but now they are in their houses, now they are in a remote place. So we really cannot helicopter the children all the time. We have to make them self disciplined and self reliant, and that is going to help them when we teach them how to learn and make them self learners and lifelong learners throughout their life. So that is the whole thing we wanted to summarize. So just don't as teachers, just don't feel like you are just teaching out there, but yes, see to it that the children are learning. And that's a question that we need to ask ourselves. And that's what I have for today to share. Anything, ma'am, would really be nice if there is any question or any further interaction for that matter.
So, everybody has appreciated you a lot. There is,
All right. So really grateful to hear
yeah,
that.
yeah, as
Yeah.
to, till now there is no question. I think you have explained us so very well that there is no room for the question. Uh, and you made think us that are we really teaching or we are helping children learning. Definitely,
I think that's the whole point. If we can make
yeah,
everybody
I'm
think,
sure
I think
teaching,
we have got the answers to it.
yeah, whether they are creative or not, and definitely they are going to learn, they are going to change their styles of teaching. Thank you so much for giving your precious time to us. Thank you so much, sir. It's nice.
All right, thank you. The pleasure all was mine, and hope we served the purpose, and that's what we intend to do. All right, thank you, Anisha
Thank
ma'am,
you.
and thanks Ogiti for once again giving the opportunity to share our ideas and thoughts.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you.